We've been talking an awful lot about Lord Mandelson on the programme today, and look, the questions, I guess, just keep coming about whether or not he did leak sensitive government information, about what the police are going to do about that. They're certainly looking into it. Should he be a Lord anymore? Should he go and testify in the US? All questions to put to our next guest, the Health Minister, Karin Smyth. Great to have you here. You're here to talk about cancer, which we will get to, but I just want to talk about the pretty astonishing, I guess, claims that have been levied against Lord Mandelson. So police now looking into whether a criminal offence was committed, about whether he leaked sensitive information to Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire paedophile, when he was in government. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, it is shocking. It is astonishing. Whatever words we can use, I think every half hour at the moment we're getting new revelations through that. And I mean, how do I feel at heart? This is started about the trafficking, that exploitation of women and girls. And I think any of us that are involved in this sort of work or support those women and girls over many years, should we continue to be shocked by some of the male behaviour around this? Yes, we should always. But yeah, it is astonishing. It is astonishing, and some of these emails now we're seeing are astonishing, as you say.
I mean, I guess, you're in government. You know how important the sensitivity of data is. I mean, people are going to be worried that this kind of thing is just going on, that people are just forwarding stuff, that, I mean, it is kind of unbelievable. This is market-sensitive stuff.
Yes, but these emails I think you're referring to are from 2009, and the world is quite different from 2009 these days. I mean, obviously, one always needs to be careful, but very, very clear guidance on the ministerial code and behaviour and access to.
People knew it was wrong in 2009 as well.
I think that's right. No, they did, but we know more about even technology and so on and so forth now, and control by governments on that sort of behaviour is stronger. So. Okay. I mean, it seems to me like yesterday, but it is obviously, 15, 16 years ago.
Should Peter Mandelson go and testify in the United States?
I mean, we've been very clear that anybody with any evidence around the whole Epstein issue
I'm just going to come in because
should be as open as possible. And
I'm just going to come in, if I may, because I just recognise that line that we've heard from Number 10 before, that anyone with evidence should go and testify. I'm asking you directly: should Lord Mandelson go and testify in the US?
I mean, people should support the women, the victims.
Should Lord Mandelson
I think people should take part and
I'm
should
not asking
support.
about people. I'm asking about a specific person. Well, Lord Mandelson, should he go and testify?
Ideally, anybody who has got information and should
Lord Mandelson go and testify?
Well, that's a yes, isn't it? Because anybody who's got information should support the investigation. Should be as open, as they can be, and as whatever they know to support any investigation, whether that's there or, as you specifically highlighted here now about those emails, and as you say, sensitive government information. It should all be open, of course.
Keir Starmer said that he doesn't think Lord Mandelson should be a Lord anymore. So why doesn't he do something about it?
So. Again, we're all learning the rules. Peter Mandelson is not the first Lord to have been in disrepute, but this issue is about bringing forward new legislation. We don't have a majority in the House of Lords, so that has to be done in cooperation with all parties. That's why we've asked for all parties to come together to look at this and make sure that any legislation that comes forward is fit for purpose. And it's not just about one individual. It is that would be a wider issue. So we have set that process in train, but it's not as simple as, people understand we've got a majority in the Commons, we can bring forward emergency legislation. I brought forward emergency legislation last week about the doctors, but you do need to get that through the House of Lords, and it needs to be right, and it needs to be wider than on one person.
I do understand the kind of difficulties of legislation, but, we were told Prince Andrew couldn't be stripped of his title of Prince, right, because we were said at the time he was born a prince, so there's nothing he can do about it. But King Charles found a way of doing it to his own brother. So I guess people looking at this will be like, why can't Keir Starmer find a way of getting rid of the title?
But we are doing that. By saying that we could bring forward legislation.
So is that happening? What's happening now?
Well, because he's asked to work with cross parties.
But what is happening today?
Yesterday,
What's happening now?
Yesterday, we approached for all parties to come together to look at what that might look like,
But,
and whether that's a
approaching
runner.
all parties to come together
To look at legislation of what might need to be. That's exactly the first process.
So it's going to happen then?
Well, it depends on if you can get all parties together to agree that. That's the step, and I would hope that, particularly given the public interest and the clear issue around the reputation of the Lords and the reputation of politics, that all parties would want to work together to do exactly that. And that's what Keir Starmer has asked people to do. That is the action.
I was quite struck by what you said at the beginning about that we should continue to be shocked by the behaviour of predatory men, I guess, but perhaps it's not always a surprise. I just wondered if I could get your reflections on what I think is a pretty astonishing interview with Peter Mandelson in the Times today. He talks a lot about how difficult this has all been for him. It felt like being killed without actually dying. I've had a lot of bad luck, no doubt some of it of my own making. I need a reset.
I mean, again, that is shocking. But
do you think he thinks he's the victim in this?
I think I've certainly seen, I'm sure you've seen and interviewed over time, men that have been involved in similar sorts of behaviour seem to not be able to recognise their own self in that, and that is part of them having to deal with the level of seriousness and seeing it how other people see it, and people shouldn't put that out in the public domain. Having those interviews, it is a time for reflection and recognise how serious this is.
Do you think Peter Mandelson realises how serious it is?
I think by the sound of that interview, that would suggest not, but I'm not sure when that interview took place before the latest tranche of emails.
Well, he knew what happened before the emails.
He knew. He's one of the only people that did know. Absolutely.
Finally, you've got a story to tell us, an important story to tell us about the NHS and cancer care in particular, and the government's going to be covering travel costs of children with cancer. What's happening?
It's really important for families and children who get diagnosed with cancer. That's shocking. For anybody, I've had a cancer diagnosis, it's shocking as an adult, but to have your child diagnosed, and people have to travel. There are 13 specialist centres, so people generally have to travel for that really specialist care, because it's different having cancer in children and young people. Long campaigned for. I met people at a reception at Downing Street last night, hosted by the Prime Minister, who've been campaigning for this for 2 decades. So we're really pleased, as part of our cancer plan, to be able to support those families with those travel costs, so that they're not having to think about paying for that travel and how they're going to cope with their family income at the same time as supporting their children.
I'm sorry about your own cancer diagnosis. How are you doing now?
I'm one of many people, particularly women, caught in a rising dose of melanoma. So my warning this week is talking about sunbed use in under 18s in particular. We're making more stringent action on that. It is rising, be very careful in the sun. But for these children and young people who haven't had that really dedicated support and focus on them and their families, it is a really important part of our cancer plan to support them and to make sure they're not thinking about worrying as much about other things in their family, whether that's feeding the rest of their family, other household bills and other parts of the cost of living crisis that they're undergoing at this particular time. So it's a really welcome by them, and I'm really pleased to be able to announce that today.